On episode 387 of Nintendo Switchcraft, Gizmodo calls me a liar. The indie world is finally here, along with a whole bunch of indie games. Those stories and more on this episode of Nintendo Switchcraft. Stick around.
This is Lloyd Hannison from beautiful Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, and you're listening to the Nintendo Switchcraft Podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Switchcraft is brought to you live every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. You can tune in live on Monday, Wednesday, Friday at twitch.tv/runjumpstomp or on Saturdays over at youtube.com/runjumpstomp. This episode of Switchcraft is made possible by patrons like Tom. Get Switchcraft and my other content ad-free for as little as $1 by joining the Patreon over at patreon.com/runjumpstomp. And if you would like to leave a voicemail like you heard at the beginning of the show, that's super easy to do from any device at all. You can head on over to runjumpstomp.com/voicemail, and I may even play it on the show. All right, we've got a lot to talk about, so let's get started.
When you've lost your last man, hold A and B to continue where you left off. Do this before the title screen appears.
All right, today was really is going to be focused on the indie world, which is a video that we just finished watching a little bit ago. We watched it together on my Twitch page, and if you want to see the live reaction of my of me watching the indie world, you can check that out like right around here someplace. It'll show up on the screen if you're watching it on YouTube. Or you can just, if you're listening to this on the podcast, you can go to youtube.com/runjumpstomp and you can find it there. But before we talk about the indie world thing, a really weird thing happened last night. And I know this isn't necessarily Nintendo news, but it bugged the hell out of me. And I just wanted to talk about it and get some things off my chest. So I'm going to give you the whole story. Recently, I had been on Reddit and I saw somebody saying, hey, Nintendo said that if I bought my Switch after July 17th, I could turn it in and to them and they would send me a new one. And I was like, well, that's pretty interesting, but I'm skeptical if it's going to be true. So I picked up the phone and I started to call him and I said, you know what? I'm just going to record the call just in case, and then I'll edit out all the parts where I'm on hold or where I'm giving out my personal information, and then I'll post that as part of the podcast. And I did that an episode or two ago, and somebody at Gizmodo had seen it, and then, well, actually, let me rewind a little bit more before I get to the Gizmodo part. But then fast forward a day or two, and The Verge said that they talked to Nintendo, and Nintendo denied this program for new upgraded Switch models. So basically what happens is some Redditors said, hey, check this out. I'm getting my Switch upgraded for free outside of paying for shipping. I called and confirmed that with my phone call, which I recorded and posted to the podcast as well as my YouTube channel. Then The Verge says they contacted Nintendo, and Nintendo said there's no program like this. At the same time, Polygon contacted Nintendo, and Nintendo said yes, they could confirm. In fact, it says right here, where is it? Polygon contacted Nintendo's customer service department and verified those details with a representative. Customer service told us that customers would need to cover shipping and insurance costs, and that customers should transfer their purchases to the new system using a Nintendo Switch Online account. The exchange offer appears to be specific to customers in the US and Canada. I was told that I could not exchange an older model for any limited edition versions of the Switch, just the two standard SKUs of the latest model with improved battery life. We go back over to The Verge, and their quote is, we do not, this is from their conversation with Nintendo. They said, we do not have a Nintendo Switch exchange program. We always want players to enjoy their Nintendo Switch systems, and if anything ever gets in the way of that, we encourage them to visit support.nintendo.com. for support or to contact our customer support team. Okay, so now we've got conflicting arguments. We've got the original Redditors saying that they're going to get their Nintendo Switch. We've got my recording of me talking to Nintendo customer service saying, yes, this July 17th thing is the real deal. We've got The Verge saying it's not. And now we've got Polygon saying that it is. And then on top of all that, if that wasn't confusing enough, Gizmodo, specifically Alyse Stanley of Gizmodo, they posted an article basically parroting what The Verge said, except they specifically called me out and said that I that I faked my call to Nintendo. Now, I just want to make sure everybody is aware. First off, my audio editing skills are pretty decent, but they're not that good. There's no way that I could have faked that as nearly and to make it sound like it did. Secondly, that would have also required me to find somebody else to record the other lines. I'm good at doing impersonations and stuff. I don't think I could do it that convincingly. And thirdly, I don't have the time nor the inclination to make up fake stuff in order to try and drive people to my podcast. I've been doing this podcast since the Switch was announced, and I've been podcasting for even longer than that. Switchcraft has been nominated for a podcast award 2 years in a row. This is not the kind of thing that I would do because just really there's no return on the time investment that it would take. So that is just ridiculous. But this Gizmodo article, where's the button here? There we go. They said the unofficial and now unfortunately confirmed untrue offer was first noted on Reddit, where users claim Nintendo officials agreed to swap out their current Switch for a new model so long as they purchased the console upgrade after it was announced on July 17th. One YouTuber, me, even faked a recording of a Nintendo rep confirming this deal over the phone. Now, I screenshotted that and I tweeted it out and I said, Gizmodo is calling me a liar. And let me bring that up real quick. And sure enough, I got some replies. So I said, Gizmodo is accusing me of faking a call to Nintendo. And I posted a screenshot and highlighted it. And then, I got Bobby Blackwolf, who does a podcast, who you should check out his podcast. It's about general gaming, and he does it every week on Sunday. And I'm a fan of his. I've known him for 15 years or something like that. It's been a long time. But he said they sure changed that wording pretty quickly. And on his screen, it said one YouTuber even uploaded a recording. They didn't say that I faked it. They said that it was a recording. But if I go back to their site, which I'm not going to do anymore, but if I go back to their site, it definitely still says faked. So there's conflicts about whether or not it says faked or is a recording. But this is an archive.today website that I have, because I am not going to share the original article back out because I don't think that they deserve clicks after calling me a liar. But I've got this article here and it says that I faked it, and I didn't fake it. And I find that to be really irritating and more than a little bit insulting. So anyway, Gizmodo, you're a bunch of jerks. And I can, and the people who are here who, have gone through Gizmodo's website and they've come to my show and they see the thing and they think that I'm faking it. There's nothing that I can say to convince you otherwise, but there's just too much work that would go into faking it for some fake internet points on the internet. And sure, somebody might say, well, he's trying to get his YouTube channel noticed. Listen, I would love it if more people would notice my YouTube channel. I work really hard on my podcast as well as my YouTube channel, but I would never resort to faking stories. There's just too much actual Nintendo news to talk about. So anyway, the people in chat are asking me to play the jerk soundbite. So Gizmodo,
let's get one thing straight, all right? You're a jerk.
There you go, Gizmodo. That's for you. And what a bunch of jerks. Anyway, let's move on and talk about some video games, because that's really what we're here to talk about. We're not here to talk about my drama with with oh my god, my brain stopped working. My drama with Gizmodo, who they suck, by the way. Anyway, we just got done watching the new Indie World Showcase, and that's what the rest of the episode is going to talk about. But before we get there, I'm going to take a break, and we're going to hear from the sponsors. Actually, I'll probably only do one break today, so I'm going to throw all the sponsors into one break. But we're going to take a break, hear from our sponsors. When we come back, the Indie World Showcase reveals the next slate of top indie games coming to the Nintendo Switch. Stick around. All right, we are back, and if you didn't know, Indie World... Now, okay, before we get to it, I have a question. Has the Nindies been replaced, or is Indie World the new thing? Like, I am not sure. I'm a little confused. Like, they have the Nindies, and then they have Indie World, and what is the difference? What makes one game a Nindie and another game an Indie World game? I don't know. But they showed off a bunch of games at the Indie World presentation, which live streamed globally today. And Nintendo highlighted a whole bunch of independent games that are coming to the Nintendo Switch very soon. Some of them are even already on the eShop. And you know what? I gotta say, the Switch is it's a dream console if you're a fan of indie games. There's so many fantastic independent developers and publishers making games that are on the Nintendo Switch that it's great if you like that kind of thing. If you only care about AAA games, there's still stuff here for you. Although I would say you'd probably be better served getting an Xbox or a PlayStation if that's the case. But if you really, really like independent games and you want to be able to take your games with you, then the Switch is the place to go. All right, let's go through the presentation. I'm going to try and do this in under 20 minutes. I'm going to try and cut it down so that I'm not talking about every single game. So if you want to see the full thing completely, without anything from me, go to the show notes over at runjumpstomp.com. Check out episode 387. I've got a link to both the Indie World presentation from Nintendo as well as my first live reaction to it. But let's talk about the games that they showed off, because I think that there's a lot of really fun games in this list. All right, I want to start with Super Hot. Super Hot is coming to the Nintendo Switch. If you don't know what Super Hot is, it's this really, really strange first-person shooter where the way that the game works, and it looks like they don't have the video working for some reason, but the way that the game works is you are in this really stylized world of red glass people, and when you're playing, the game only moves when you move. So you can stop and look and make a decision about what you want to do and then start acting on it. And it's got some really, really cool visuals. The thing that jumped out at me when I was watching it is it seemed like the thing that they were showing, I still can't get the video to come up. It seemed like they had made it so that you are dodging bullets with the motion controls. That's the thing that jumped out at me when I was watching the video for Super Hot. I think that that's really interesting. And Super Hot is a game that I have not picked up on Steam or PS4 or anywhere else, really. I've always been interested in it, but I've never bothered to buy it. So maybe I'll pick it up this time, because I've heard nothing but very, very good things about Super Hot. So there you go. That's coming to the Switch, and the date that is coming to the Switch, I'm bringing it up now. Oh, is right now. It's available now, so you can buy it right now for $24.99. They also mentioned the Hotline Miami collection. I got to put in an age to see this. There we go. I gotta prove that I'm old enough to see Hotline Miami, and it's not letting me bring anything up on the Nintendo site about it. Okay, that's odd. Hotline Miami, it contains both games of the high octane Hotline Miami series, and again, you can pick that up also today. They also have an online multiplayer roguelike called Risk of Rain 2. I have heard of Risk of Rain, and I've never played it, or I don't think I've ever even seen any footage of it. But what I saw in the trailer that they showed us today, and I got to mute that. Hold on. Where is that? There we go. What I saw in the trailer today was really interesting looking. Obviously, what they were showing isn't really gameplay, but they showed how, you land on this planet, you get loot, you fight monsters, and then you die and you do it all over again. And as soon as you tell me that there's something that's a roguelike, that really gets my attention. And I think Risk of Rain 2 is definitely something that I had ignored previously because I knew nothing about it. And the Indie World Showcase put it on my list of games to pay attention to. They also showed off Ori and the Blind Forest. That's what they finished up the live stream with. At the very end, they were like, one more thing. Here's Ori and the Blind Forest. This is the one thing that a lot of people were predicting, myself included. And the reason why everybody was predicting Ori and the Blind Forest coming to the Nintendo Switch was because it's a Microsoft published game. Microsoft also published Cuphead, and then Microsoft went to the developers of Cuphead and they said, can you make this for the Nintendo Switch? And I know that there's going to be people out there who say, why would Microsoft bring games like Cuphead and Ori and the Blind Forest to a competing platform? Well, that's because Microsoft is the publisher of this game. And being the publisher of that game means that they make money every time somebody sells one of those games. So putting that game on as many platforms as possible makes a whole lot of sense. And the Nintendo Switch, while it is definitely a competitor to Microsoft, it's not a competitor to Microsoft Xbox in exactly the same way that PlayStation is. So it makes a lot of sense to me for Microsoft to bring these games to Nintendo Switch, if for no other reason than to make more money. Now that I've said all that, if you're like, what is Ori and the Blind Forest and why do I care? It is one of the coolest Metroidvania games that I have ever played. It's incredibly fun, and the controls are really tight. It's also very, very pretty. What a beautiful game. You play as this little white glowing mouse creature. Oh, you almost look like Stitch from Lilo and Stitch, except you are glowing white. And you have to go through the forest, and it's a Metroidvania game. It's super, super good. And that comes out on September 27th this year. So you're not going to have to wait very long before you play Ori and the Blind Forest on the Nintendo Switch. It's definitely something that's on my wish list for the Switch. However, I already own it on PC. It was gifted to me by a viewer or listener, and I played it on Twitch, and I had an absolute blast. So I don't know that I'll buy it again, but I would really like to get a review copy so that I can compare it to the PC version and see how well it plays on the Switch. And if I do end up getting a review copy, of course you guys will find out, either here on the podcast or over on my YouTube channel, or hell, I may even stream it on Twitch again. All right. They went on to say, since the system's launch in 2017, Switch has become a go-to platform for indie developers. This is Kirk Scott. He's the indie partner manager of publisher and developer relations over at Nintendo. He then goes on to say, with the diverse lineup of upcoming indie content showcased today, Nintendo Switch owners can look forward to expanding their digital libraries with further with further variety of quality indie games to play at home or on the go. And then they listed off a bunch of games. So these are the ones that jump out at me. I'm not going to list all of them. I already talked about Risk of Rain, super hot. The next one that jumps out that I think is very, very exciting is Torchlight. Now, if you have heard me talk about Diablo at all, then you know how much I like a good ARPG. And I got to say, Torchlight is basically a very, very kid-friendly ARPG. Not to say that it's only for kids, but it is a kid-friendly one in that you can turn off the blood, and it's not about demons and stuff, but it's got those same dungeon delves, and it's got the same gameplay mechanics, and it is really, really fun. Now, Torchlight 2, I've played just a little bit of, if for no other reason than when it came out. It's and I've talked about this on the show before, but I broke my elbow going for a run with my daughter one year, and using mouse and keyboard is very painful for me. In fact, you'll see me whenever I'm live streaming or making a YouTube video, I tend to straighten my arm and then fold it again a bunch, and that's because my elbow kind of locks up. So playing WASD games is not something that I do very often, World of Warcraft aside, but playing those games mouse and keyboard is not something I like to do. I very much prefer controller. So Torchlight 2 having access to a controller, that is exciting to me, and that is going to be $20 on the Nintendo Switch. It is available September 3rd, and that is very exciting because that is a fantastic game that you certainly do not want to sleep on. And look at this, it looks like the port is by Panic Button, who did all those amazing ports of like Rocket League and Doom and stuff like that. So you know that this is going to be a quality port, and it's a quality port of a quality game. It also has solo play as well as online multiplayer, and I believe the online multiplayer will, of course, require a Nintendo Switch Online subscription. But Torchlight 2 is awesome, and I'm very, very excited about it. Another game that jumped out at me that I thought was very, very funny looking was Freedom Finger. It is a side-scrolling shooter that reminds me of games like R-Type, but at the same time, it has this really funny art style, and it's got a lot of crude humor. And overall, I just think that it's very, very funny looking. You are basically in a ship that is in the shape of a hand, and you are flying from left to right, shooting at things. And I just think it's hilarious. It's got voice acting from like Nolan North and Sam Riegel, or Regal. I don't know how to say his name. But overall, I think the game looks funny, and it's definitely something that's on my list of things that I want to check out. It made me laugh. Just watching the trailer made me laugh. The Tourist is another game that jumped out at me that I thought, this looks really cool. It reminds me very much of Pokemon Quest in its art style, but almost has like a Zelda vibe to it in the way that you go through the world and are like solving puzzles and stuff like that. So the Tourist, I love the art style. The music that was playing in it was also really, really good. And I like the Zelda style gameplay, and I of course love the shirt that the main character is wearing. He's got this Hawaiian shirt on, covered in Tetris blocks. It looks very, very interesting. That comes out on November 14th, so we've got some time before that one comes. But the Tourist looks fantastic, and I'm looking forward to that one a lot as well. And that's going to be a recurring theme with this indie world. Is there's so many games that I'm looking forward to that they showed. There were very few that I was not looking forward to. One of the games that I'm not looking forward to is there's a skateboarding game. I'm trying to find the name of it. SK8. There we go. Skater XL. When I looked at the video footage, it just seemed to me like everything seemed flat. Like the lighting was off, and the shadows were too soft, and they didn't really. It just felt very odd. And as I was watching it, I felt like, how do I want to phrase this? I felt like this developer doesn't understand that you don't have to have photorealistic graphics to have a game that looks nice. And if they had gone for a more stylized version than this photorealistic stuff, I think it would have been much more appealing. Now, the gameplay may be awesome, but overall, I just feel like the look of this game is very muted and not interesting to me. And I think that they'd be better off if they had gone with a different style for their art. But hey, guess what? It's art. It's subjective. And this doesn't appeal to me. Maybe it appeals to you. The gameplay might be awesome. I don't know. And there's no way for me to know without playing it. So basically, Skater XL, I'm not looking forward to it, but there might be a lot of people that are. What other games really jumped out at me? Oh man, I think I yelled when this came up. Cat Quest 2. I played the first one. That game is fantastic. And if you never played Cat Quest, first off, I've got an interview with the developer on my podcast, so you should check that out. Secondly, I've got a review of the game on my YouTube channel. You should check that out. And thirdly, it's awesome, so you should check out Cat Quest. It's this almost top-down, three-quarters view adventure game. Feels very Zelda-like, but it is filled with a world of cats, and the cats they constantly make jokes about being cats and puns, which was really impressive because I spoke to the developer, and his native language is not English. So in order to have all of those puns translated or localized, and have them land so well was really impressive. But Cat Quest 1 is awesome, and Cat Quest 2 comes out fall 2019, so we don't have very long to wait for Cat Quest 2. The first one and this one, they share the same exact art style, which is almost looks like hand drawn stuff. The overall map, like when you're looking at the game, it feels like you're looking at an overall map, because there's like things like the Mew fields are labeled and stuff like that. But that's actually the gameplay area, and this one is apparently co-op, which is really, really good. If you're looking for a fun game to play with a friend, well, to play solo, I would say check out Cat Quest, or you can look at this. You can partner up, and they spelled that PAW for paw, but you can partner up with another player and play locally. And this is a very Diablo-like, Zelda-like thing, and it's coming winter 2019. I'm excited to check out Cat Quest 2 only because Cat Quest 1 was so fantastic. Let's see what else jumped out. Okay, Munchkin Quacked Quest. One of the games that we play, board games that we play around here quite often, is Munchkin. And Munchkin is this really weird card game where you are sitting around with the players and you have to work together to defeat monsters, but you want to be the one to get the killing blow on the monster so that you get the experience, and you want to get to level 10 first. And I've had so much fun playing Munchkin at the table. And now there's a video game version of it. Now, this is from Asmodee, which is the same company that is making a lot of board game ports for the Nintendo Switch. I've not played the board game of Munchkin. I've only played the card game, so I can't really refer to that at all. But if the humor in this game is anything like the humor that's in the card game that I've really, really enjoyed, then we are in for a treat. We don't know when this is coming out. It says available is TBD, so we're going to have to wait and find out from Asmodee Digital when Munchkin Quacked Quest is coming. But I thought that was very interesting, and overall, I think it's very cool. So there's a lot of games coming. I'm not going to go through any more of them. I will say this, Trine 4 from Modus Games. If you've not played the Trine games, they're really fun games. The video of Trine 4 that they showed in the Indie Spotlight, or whatever it is that they call this thing, the colors just looked off, and overall the textures looked bad, and the resolution looked low, and everything just looked kind of muted and almost dim. It just didn't look as good as I would expect. And while this is the Nintendo Switch, which is less powerful than other systems, I would say that the first Trine, which came out a very long time ago, looked better than this. So, and this is just graphics. This doesn't have anything to do with gameplay. When I saw what I saw, I just thought, oh, that's kind of disappointing, because I thought that Trine was always a very pretty game, and on the Switch, it doesn't look like it's very pretty. So, only time will tell what's going to happen there. I hope it improves. But what are your games that you are looking forward to most? If you're watching on YouTube, let me know in the comment section down below. You can get a hold of me on email, runjumpstomp@gmail.com. You can also get a hold of me on Twitter @runjumpstomp. And apparently, you can find me lying on Gizmodo all the time. So those are all the places that you can get a hold of me. I really appreciate you guys coming and hanging out with me. Let's wrap up this show. And that's not the right show notes. There we go. Let's wrap up the show, okay? Here we go.
Oh, the new Atari 7800. We reinvented the video game.
All right, become a part of the community over at the Nerd Nest. We call it the Nerd Nest. It's a runjumpstomp.com/Discord. You can also watch the show live over at twitch.tv/runjumpstomp. You can get a hold of me in the ways that I already said. Use that hashtag Nintendo Switchcraft if you're getting a hold of me on Twitter, so I know which show you're talking about. If you're looking for ways to support the show, head on over to runjumpstomp.com/thank-you. And for more content like this, check out runjumpstomp.com/shows. Speaking of other shows, today at 12:30, if you listen to this before then, which not likely, most people download it the next day, but if you're listening to this before then, make sure you go over to youtube.com/stadiacast. I also host Stadia Cast, which is a podcast all about Google Stadia, and they are doing their pre-Gamescom coverage of Stadia Connect #2, and I will be co-streaming that as well. So make sure that you check that out and subscribe over there. And hey, subscribe on the YouTube channel as well. All right, the music you are hearing right now is Corneria Star Fox Remix by Noteblock. If you're having trouble finding that, Corneria Star Fox Remix by Noteblock, find them on YouTube. I'm out of here. You guys stay awesome. Goodbye.